If you're thinking about getting into model railroading or you're already an addict, boy do we have a project for you. In this episode, we get all Michelangelo up in the mountains. I'll show you what that means right now. Hey, welcome to It's My Railroad, the how-to show for regular people. On this show, we chronicle the never-ending adventures of the irregular guy, model railroader, yours truly. We have a lot of fun on this channel, a lot of community interaction. We are learning a ton about how just regular people build their model railroads. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. All right, rail fans, let's get into this. Last week, we finished carving up all that styrofoam to make those mountainous shapes, and then we covered it with Sculptamold, netting us this beautiful white wedding cake sitting on top of my layout. Today we're going to fix a mistake that I made, and we're going to paint those mountains to look like mountains, and I think you're really going to be happy with the way it looks when we're done. So enough about all that. Hey, listen, as soon as we're done, come back to the studio with me because I've got some insights that I want to share with you about next week and some of the coming episodes, all right? But other than that, blah, blah, blah. Let's head into the hobby room right now. We've got the Sculptamold in, and it's dried now, it's hard. You may be interested to know that some of those places where I didn't reinforce styrofoam, it's firm. The Sculptamold has taken care of that for us. Now, I can't beat on it with a hammer, I can't abuse it with a drill or something like that. But overall, it firmed up really nice. So pretty proud of the way this is so far, pretty happy with it. What we're gonna do today is go through and fine tune some of the rougher areas. There's one place I found that there is a mistake made by somebody, and we're going to go fix that mistake today and then see if we can get some of that chalk paint on there in the areas we need it. And next week, hopefully, we'll be dropping dirt on this sucker and then some trees, and it'll start looking like a forested or deforested, as it were, logging camp. So first thing I'd like to do, give you a quick little catch-up tour where we're at, then we're going to get right to work. Okay, just sort of taking a look at how this turned out. Pretty happy with that contour you see going there. See, it's kind of stratify, if stratify's a word. Even right down to over here, we've got, it's a little hard to make out because it's all white. We've got this really uneven surface here that's really going to help, in my opinion, look more like nature does. So if we move back over to the big mountain, you can see that we've got some pretty good contour forming there, at least as far as the regular guy is concerned. All right, so there we go. So that's what we end up looking like right now. But we have a problem we need to address, and we're going to do it right now. So as we know, right in through here, we're going to have our log loading platform, and so the hill's got to be back far enough away from that we can get the platform to come out high enough above the logs so they can plop the logs down on there. Well, I went ahead and I made myself a little template here. This is 12 scale feet wide, and when I go to put this template in here, I set it down like this. A little too close to the rails. Not going to work out so good. What I need to do then is we need to go butcher some of this and some of this here. And another thing that we need to take a look at is when I set this in here like this, there's supposed to be a way for the horsies to get off of here and go back into the mountains. I think we need to cut a notch right here out of this that maybe we can support with like a retaining wall or something once we actually put the logging platform in there. I'm not exactly certain how that's going to look, but we'll just sort of take this one step at a time. So let's get some tools out first of all and start cutting into this. So if it were me, and of course it is me, if I'm going to lay this back in here like this and try to get that to come back to where I want it, a couple things we can do. I can just cut straight down, which is probably what I'm going to do. Then we have this kind of bulbous rock kind of thing hanging up there, which we can either leave as rock or we can sand it down in there and kind of turn it into more of a dirt slope. I don't know, some of the places up here where I like to leave rock on there and see how it looks with dirt around it, trees around it, yada yada, kind of matching that log loading platform picture I showed you guys before. So I'm just going to first of all make a mark about where this thing goes, but it's got to sit back further than this. So it's sitting on the mountain here. Well, maybe down here actually. I'm eyeballing this because later on when we actually build the log loader, we're going to build it to suit, as it were. So I don't know, something kind of like that. It gives me an idea where that platform's supposed to sit anyway. Disclaimer, standard regular guy disclaimer, making this up as I go. So here we go. Start by cutting into this. You cut that right about down to where we think we need it to go. And then I'll cut in like this. See, we're kind of giving it a, even just a little platform to sit on, that's fine. We'll screw around with this in just a minute, maybe curve that off or something, but actually I kind of like this technique here. Sending it on there. Hopefully this will be the last test fit and then we can get down to some additional terraforming. Alright, brothers and sisters, we will make that work. So let's get this little guy out of the way. So right here, this outcropping kind of comes down and goes back in. I don't think there's anything I can justify having that barfing back down on that deal. So I think we need to slice this back up here a little bit and then sand it smooth kind of and see where we go from there. So we'll get the old drywall saw, aka keyhole saw, back out. It's funny, this whole thing started with me taking this keyhole saw and cutting apart all the mountains and junk that used to be here, and now here we are doing it again, but we're supposed to be creating mountains, not tearing them down. Anyway, a little sidebar, I thought that was funny. Well, sometimes the random stuff works. That could almost be a detail for a rock, actually. All right, so anyway, this goes in here, which means that that notch I'm proposing needs to go somewhere in here. Whew. I just did a whole lot of work on what was supposed to be a finished hill. And that's because things didn't go quite as I saw them. It's kind of a work in progress. And frankly, that's one of the things that I used to get frustrated about when I watch these master model builders. Now, they're probably called master model builders for a reason, okay? They probably don't make these kind of mistakes, but I do. And I no longer get frustrated. Some unexpected surprises, kind of like a sort of a rock face developing. Kind of forgot we needed to allow for the log loading ramp, made the correction, moving on. That took us all of about, I don't know, 10 minutes. And now we can just move on. Okay, so I've got the debris, the snowstorm has been cleaned up, and it's back to looking like a white wedding cake. So what we're going to do now is go through and paint this thing. To do that, we'll get our old friends, the chalk paint, back out. This is a brand new can of chalk paint just for you guys. Anyway, this is the dark brown chalk paint, and the reason I'm going to start with dark brown is this. A few episodes ago I was saying that I really didn't think I needed to paint this brown before I put the scenery materials on it, and you know, thinking back on it, I changed my mind. I think I will put the brown down before I put the scenery materials down on it, and there's a couple reasons why. One is the instant transformation from white wedding cake to dirt will occur once I put that paint on there. It happens just like that, and it looks really good. Second thing is, as I start laying my scenery materials, we'll be mixing up some alcohol and some glue and drizzling it all over the place. That will kind of take this water-based paint and kind of work it up inside the scenery materials a little bit so that it kind of blends it all together. It kind of makes a nice finish. I've done that everywhere else I've put dirt on this layout, which is most of it, I guess. Anyway, so blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna go ahead now and get set up here, and we're gonna paint the brown, then we're gonna paint the granite, and then let all that dry, put some scenery materials on it. So let's get in here. All right, since this is such a large area, I got the big brush out. I'm gonna paint kind of through here, in here, in here, and up onto those mountains, basically. There's some areas we won't paint right now because those are gonna be granite, and we don't need a base coat of brown on there. So let's just dip the old brush in, shall we? And start going all the way to the back. And try to be careful up next to the logs, because I don't really need to add brown paint to the end of them, although if I got some on there, I guess it wouldn't matter. All the way back. And we'll just keep on doing that for a while. I kind of have to work the brush down in here in some of these areas because it's a pretty big brush, and we got a bunch of nooks and crannies here that we want to make sure to get the paint in. And see, this area here we haven't painted because this is going to be this granity rock kind of thing, and it'll sort of blend in with the dirt down here when we're done. At least that's the idea. And we just keep painting. All right, you can see how after just this first pass I've done, it's already starting to look like dirt and stuff. Not really, but it kind of does. I need to go through, before I move over to the next side, I'm gonna get my smaller brush in here and just touch up in these areas here. There's a couple back there I need to figure out, just to get as close to the rails as I can without that big bludgeoning brush smacking it down pretty hard. Okay, so I went ahead and finished painting the working side of the logging camp, and you'll see the areas that I left open as white. Right in here, there's a knob that sort of sticks off of that I think once the platform is up in there, it's not going to look as natural as I'd like it with just dirt being there. So what I decided to do was use that and this striation along here and all that to make a swath of granite up in here with dirt all around it, and maybe trees here and then trees up in here. And then of course trees all back by where the rest of the logging camp is. And then down here you can see we left all that white for the granite and painted down along here at the bottom brown where there's going to be dirt in there. All right, now let's go ahead and paint what we hope will look like granite when we're done. To do that, we're going to use some black chalk paint that we're going to water down quite a bit into kind of like a stain. I have just a little bit in here, and then I have some water. We'll just go ahead and pour it in there like that. And I mean, it's almost like black water right now, the way it's done. I know it's probably too hard to see that in there, but it's black water. Anyway, so we're going to take that now and we're going to start washing it over the granite. Just before we do though, I went ahead and took the black chalk paint while I had it out, and I painted the whole front of the layout here and then down inside. I figure it's going to be a while before I put a fascia up on here. I'll probably do it the same time we put the new backdrop in. And so I just wanted to sort of make it less obvious that there's a big hole under the logging camp. So I just painted that out. It kind of looks okay for what it is. We'll see how it plays out in the future. But now let's go paint that granite. So I've got to get my, my paper towel out here because this wash is going to want to run down in some places where I might not want it. So just in case, we'll go ahead and do this. But we take the little thing of wash that we've made here. Make sure it's mixed up really good, and then just start painting it over where we want the granite. What this is supposed to do is start bringing out all the detail down inside, down where the rock is. All the little nooks and crannies should be coming out with this wash going on here. And I just kind of paint it on like that. I'm not too concerned about, you know, some areas it's filling great, some it's not. I guess it's pretty easy to see where the Sculptamold is and isn't at this juncture. It almost just looks like a piece of rock sitting there as it is, and that's not the final treatment we're going to give it. There. It's starting to look rockish, if you ask me. You didn't, but if you would have, I would tell you that. Go back in some areas and add a little more to kind of darken it up in there to really bring out some of that detail. And it's just amazing how that's just the Sculptamold kind of showing through where this watered down black paint went. It just kind of looks like a piece of granite. Okay, you can see how quick that is. Just mixing that chalk paint up into just kind of a runny, really wet paint. It just has this effect of getting down into these nooks and crannies on the Sculptamold. And, you know, if a rock kind of thing is what you're going for, I think it looks kind of rock-like, in my opinion. But this isn't the only treatment we're going to give this. Now we got to go through and give some highlights and stuff to it. One of the things I forgot to point out before we get started, there's three things I look for when I'm painting a mountain. The first would be shadows, the second would be highlights, and then the third would be whatever the basic color is that you're after. Now this isn't something I invented, it's no big secret. Matter of fact, I saw a model railroader vault of a curly haired dude that taught me that. So anyway, what we're going to do right now then is get the gray paint and go through and just sort of lightly dry brush all this. And after that, we're going to apply a little bit of brown again, and I think you're going to like the way this looks. Okay, again, the regular guy kind of technique, takes some gray paint and wipes it off kind of on a paper towel, and then just start going lightly over this to start putting some highlights on some of the higher parts. I'd like you guys to keep in mind something I've been saying, and it's a sort of a mainstay, I guess, of me painting mountains, is I just kind of I just keep painting until I see what I like. I don't know when that'll be. I don't know if it'll turn out the way I was hoping it would turn out. I just keep painting until I sort of see what I like. So what this gray paint is doing right now is it's hitting the tops, because I'm hitting it very lightly with my brush. It's hitting the tops of those, so it's bringing, now you've got kind of three colors there. You've got kind of, or got infinite colors. You got from a gray through kind of a whitish, a blackish. It really adds this this cool look to the rock, in my humble opinion. Now you can sort of see how the gray softened some of that up a little bit. We still have the detail that we had, but now it's all seems to sort of blend together, looking like some kind of rock. I don't know, I'm digging it. I think it looks phenomenal. These really big striations right here, those are pretty bold. That looks kind of neat. Alright, time to do just a smidge more of that dry brushing, but this time we're going to do some brown, because the coloring kind of looks pretty good, but it's almost just two-dimensional. And quite frankly, this was something that was my wife's idea when I did the gorge. I added some brown, and it really made a difference. But with the brown, we put too much on like that, and it looks terrible. Hold on a second. That's just turning tragic very fast, everyone. Well, accidents happen, but sometimes for good reason. Just wiping that down like that, that looks freaking awesome. Look, we got the sort of the brown, the gray, the black, and the nooks and crannies. I'm not unhappy with that right now. And then you see, by wiping it like this, see how it starts making it kind of brownish, kind of not, kind of dark, kind of light in here. This is kind of the look that I'm going for, that I really enjoy when on the rest of the layout over by the gorge. Up there in the mountains, we got kind of more of a brownish kind of granite because there's dirt and everything up there. But down here, we'll see if we just lighten up on that a little bit. Again, running in through the striations. So come the end of the day, I hope you guys can see this and make this out. I'm kind of liking how these rocks are coming out right now. I am really excited about putting the dirt and the trees and everything like that on there. It's just, it's amazing how just some paint and a little bit of time and just experimentation, you can end up seeing something that looks like a rock and not like plaster. You know, it's kind of hard to tell from the video, but I'm going to tell you, I don't know that necessarily a master model builder would walk in here and faint because they were so excited at what they saw. But I'll tell you, pretty proud of it. I will not be ashamed to show this off to people when they come visit my layout. And guys, that's kind of what it's about, right? We have to have fun doing it. We have to have people around us that appreciate what it is we do. And so hopefully you guys can appreciate what went into this. And I guess we'll just let this dry up and then come back and put the scenery materials on it. So until then, why don't we head back into the studio? And we're back in the studio. Yes, those are regular guy mountains, baby. Loving the way these are coming out. Actually digging the way these are coming out. Looks even better in person than it does on video, by the way. Next week, we're gonna put the dirt up in there where all that brown paint is, and then we're gonna put ground cover, and then we're gonna plant trees. Boom, logging camp up in the mountains. It's really gonna look good. I'm very excited to show this to you. Hey guys, like and share this video for me, will you? And that ought about do it. Thank you again so much for hanging out with me today, and until next time, rail on, my friends.